Harlequin ichthyosis. Skin produces too many cells, causing massive diamond-shaped scales that can't retain water. In addition, the eyes are formed inside out. Life expectancy is 2 weeks. This guy's 30.
I remember, Larry Kasnoff back then, meeting him at his house, and things were moving ahead, and we were casting more people. And I was cast early in these movies, okay, and had to watch them just go on without me.
And I suppose, Michael, in terms of that, so you mentioned the Mortal Kombat movie in 1995 and Mortal Kombat movie Annihilation, the sequel, probably didn't go down to as much rave reviews as the sort of first movie. Did you always, since then, did you feel maybe after Mortal Kombat Annihilation, look at there'll be another one, there'll be another sort of movie maybe in 2 or 3 years' time and stuff like that, and I'll get to play that role of Jax? Did you ever think maybe that it wouldn't be until 2021 coming next February or March that we'd be looking at the next Mortal Kombat movie?
Well, I really didn't have any thought, with this business, it changes so much, and there's so many other things that, be focusing on. I only focus on the things that I can control. Of course, I always hope to be able to play Jax in a full movie. You get that chance, but I ended up doing it in another realm. So, finally I got a chance to play though short, I got a chance to play the character, which was fine with me.
And I suppose, Michael, in terms of that, in terms of Mortal Kombat Rebirth and Mortal Kombat Legacy, the web series, Kevin Tajarian, very prominent in those sorts of works. And was it Kevin that sort of reached out and approached you in terms of, first of all, said he had an idea for this sort of web series and that he loved you to be part of, and portrayed his sort of vision that he wanted to create in that? And were you probably a bit skeptical at first, thinking, well, this is not really a movie as sort of such, and in terms of what sort of platform it was on? And obviously it was before Netflix, and obviously if it arrived at the time at Netflix, you were probably looking at multiple seasons.
No, I was like the first person that joined on. It was Larnell Stovall and Kevin Tancharoen, who I believe in their talents. Like they're just both incredibly talented. We did that Rebirth for $7,000.
Wow, it looks spectacular.
In a matter of 2 days, because I believe in them, and I still think Kevin Tancharoen is a potential. He could be potentially one of the greatest action directors in Hollywood. It's crazy that he hasn't gotten that opportunity yet, but he's an amazing talent. But yeah, we had Matt Mullins, myself. We had just such great. And these were friends too. So it's just spending a couple of days with my friends, putting down something, and we took a big chance, because we didn't have the permission from Warner Brothers to do this. So we really took a big chance on our talents to get that going, and it really revitalized the franchise.
You mentioned that in terms of revitalizing the franchise, and it sort of took it away from that sort of PG sort of area that was the 90s. Sort of an awful lot of movies in the 90s in terms of graphics, in terms of violence, they were probably dumbed down in terms of PG, in terms of what was acceptable. Now this time we've approached the 21st century, you see many movies going in the direction of The Dark Knight, The Joker, very long back, very grim, very dark, very sinister sort of. And he sort of brought Mortal Kombat back to its sort of roots, that hardcore sort of audience sort of love, that sort of real sort of that grimace, that sort of mortal conquest between man and sort of mutant and sort of machine, that was all about Mortal Kombat. It was all about the blood, the gore, and the fighting.
That's the way it should be. Sometimes with executives, they're thinking too much on profits and the market, that type. But they're not. A lot of times they are so removed from the actual audience. They're looking at it from a business perspective. And Mortal Kombat, I mean, look at the subject matter. It's a dark subject matter. You don't try to become a breakfast cereal, you have to stay dark. And so that's how, our frustration was that we wanted to put something out there. Since we were representative of the fan base, we wanted to put something that we knew the fans would like to see. And so that's why we took that chance, and that's why Rebirth happened.
And in terms of the character, in terms of Jax, when you got the sort of script, what did you obviously you know what the character was like in the sort of fighting games and in terms of previous movies. Obviously you wanted to put your own sort of twist and the ideas yourself and Kevin had for him in terms of this web series. What was your sort of thinking behind what you wanted Jax to be portrayed as?
Well, since, it was like really wide open how we wanted to do it. In the game, it really doesn't dignify his personality, like signify who he is. But as this Jackson Briggs as a police captain, this was a wide open space, and so I played the character as I would play a police captain.
And I suppose, Michael, in terms of Mortal Kombat, in terms of its global fan base, in terms of its huge sort of video game fan base, millions and millions of copies sold all over the world, from Asia to Australia to Europe to Japan. It has a real die-core sort of audience. And it's probably one of the things that probably every 2 or 3 years, there's more demands for more video games, demands for more series, just demands for more movies. To be involved in the sort of a franchise like that, do you almost feel a sense of pride since that you played a character that has been around for 30 or 40 years now at this stage?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I feel, what I like to bring to a character like that is, if, especially for the fans to support it as well. I always have a great deal of pride in being able to connect myself with something that's so iconic.
And I suppose, Michael, in terms of Mortal Kombat, the sort of new Mortal Kombat movie that's projected to come out in January 2021, just listening to some of the interviews that some of the actors are supposed to be saying, it's supposed to make you grimace in terms of it's real action martial arts, but the real sense of horror is in this. There are some scenes that are visually disturbing as well. And do you think maybe that people are more acceptable to those sort of natures now, given the sort of the change that there is in the movie industry, that people like to see those sort of movies where it probably wouldn't have garnished such an audience back in 10 years ago in terms of its extreme violence would be deemed not cinema worthy?
Well, I applaud that. I applaud them going